Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Strategic Business Planning. My name is John Coombs, and today we have Natalie Walz, which is a home inspector from the Knoxville, Tennessee area. Natalie and her husband, John Walz, they own Best Choice Inspections, a full-service inspection company founded in 2002. Natalie and John acquired the business last year and have since achieved impressive growth. With over 30% increase in revenue, an exceptional milestone for them to establish with a 20-year-old business, they take pride in operating a business that supports 5 local families. They continue to pursue further growth to this day. Something to notate, Natalie and John have achieved this success without relying on paid advertising or expanding into services beyond their core inspection offerings. Their primary objective is to provide clients with thorough, comprehensive inspections, empowering them to make informed decisions about their property purchases. They emphasize that while every issue is ultimately fixable, clients should understand what to expect before stepping into their new home or business. In an industry where many inspection companies are downsizing or even diversifying to keep the doors open, Best Choice Inspections remains resilient and they are thriving. Natalie oversees office operations, human resources, and marketing initiatives, contributing to the company's success and growth. Everyone welcome Natalie Walz.
Thanks for having me, John.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the transition from what you were doing before until you bought the business. So what were y'all doing at the time?
So John actually was working for the company for about 12 years before we bought the company. And they hired me in 2020 to start learning how the office functioned. So while the chiropractic office I was working for was closed down for a little while, for not surprising reasons, I would work in the office for Best Choice, and there was a lot of growth in the real estate market and the inspection market at that time, which kept us very, very busy. And when the owner was ready to retire, we were able to step in and have a really seamless transition.
Was that the plan from the beginning?
Absolutely. From the time he was hired, the previous owner didn't have any children, and he was going to sell the business to someone, and it wanted to be somebody who would hold up to the integrity that he had established.
Oh, wow. So did John and you, do you think y'all added to it? So 30% or even more than that growth, how did that transition, how did that happen?
We've done some things differently. When the real estate market started to slow down, we really focused on our network. We really focused on what we can do for people aside from give them a scary report, and be passionate about what an inspection can give to a buyer. Okay,
so passion is probably not something that most people think about during a home inspection. I know John personally, and he's very passionate. How does someone that's watching today, how can you tell them, or what kind of advice do you have for them to make it passionable?
We start with the mindset that this is going to be your home. You've put a contract on this place. There's a lot of time and energy to find the right house. We want you to live here. We want you to live here with the best information and the best plan to move forward and take care of this enormous investment that you're walking into. So everything on an inspection report is fixable. Is it something that you can handle? Is it something that you're prepared for? Is it something you can negotiate with? But we look at it as your home. Someone's family sleeps here. Your family's going to sleep here. Let's make sure it stays in great shape for years to come.
Awesome. So you talked about in your bio that you do the home or business. Does the commercial properties, are they different in a sense?
It's very different, and the state does not require the same inspection standards for a commercial property. We have done a lot of extra training to make sure that our guys know the best. I don't personally do the inspections. Crawl spaces are disgusting, and so are most attics. However, I do know enough about the business and enough about what we need to know about a property to make sure that I'm setting people up for success. What services do you need? And what's important about a commercial property basis versus a residential property.
Okay.
But we do a lot of multi-unit homes, which are considered commercial, restaurants, retail spaces,
Sure,
that kind
sure.
of thing.
Okay, so obviously I think I know enough about it to where you have to have a license, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You do have to have a license with the state of Tennessee, and then you take the national exam as well. You can get certified and not licensed. Some states don't require the national license. The state of Tennessee does.
Okay. So if somebody's watching that's from anywhere in the nation, each state has a license, but they can have a certification that might set them apart if they have the license, right?
You can be certified and not licensed in several states.
Okay.
The requirements change everywhere. Everyone has to be certified. You have to have a licensed inspector on site in the state of
Okay.
Tennessee.
Okay.
In some states, you don't have to. So it just depends on what the rules are in your state. Tennessee's are pretty strict, though.
Sure. So the 5 families that you mentioned in your bio that you're supporting are all of those inspectors or?
No, my husband, John, is a full-time inspector. We have another master inspector who came with us when we bought the business.
Okay.
He's also a master inspector, lives up in North Knoxville area. And then we have a third that John and I actually had known him for close to 10 years. And we knew his ethics and we knew his family. And we knew that he was interested in protecting people's homes and finding out the information. So we recruited him. And then we have 2 people in the office. One of them is training to be an inspector, though.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So if somebody is out there, they're watching this, they want to be an inspector or they're thinking about being an inspector, what would you say in regards to all of that? The process, is it hard? Should they try to do it on their own? Should they work for somebody first? Or what would you say as advice to them?
I would say in any home services field, being an apprentice is just invaluable. You can learn a lot from doing the licensing. You can learn a lot from the training that's available. But seeing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 homes like John and Tanner have, there's just so much more to know than just what you get from the license. Every single house is different, and they're just like our bodies, where they age and things change as they get older. The house next door to yours is never going to be in the same condition as yours.
Right.
So I highly recommend the apprenticeship, working for a company that has similar ethics to you and working for a company who does the inspection that you want to provide. I do know several great inspection companies, aside from ours, that I would recommend to train with.
Okay. Do y'all offer that if somebody doesn't know you, but they get to know you on here and they want to do that? Can someone come on and do the apprentice, kind of like an electrician apprenticeship, or they could do that with you?
Absolutely. If they got their license and they interviewed with John and we see that they have the same passion and interest, then we absolutely will train them, and they could work for us or they
Sure.
could go out on their own
So
after.
could they sub for you like subcontractors do? Like electricians hire other electricians, you could have.
We do,
Okay.
yeah. We could do an apprenticeship and then hire them afterwards. We could do an apprenticeship and use them as a subcontractor.
Sure.
Yeah, we're pretty open to that.
Okay, awesome. So that's about license. So talk about like a day-to-day, operation on like what it looks like to do home inspections. What kind of, do you do research before you go to the house? When you get to the house, you look at everything and do your report, or how does it look? How does the operations look?
It really starts a week to 4 days before. Commercial property is a little bit further ahead, where we look up the basic statistics of the house. We look up the age, the size. We base the price on the age and the size of the home and distance from the middle of Knoxville. And then what services do you need for that property? Is it really old, or is it brand new, or Is the possibility of really bad pipes there? Are they at a higher risk of radon? So we look at all of those things, and we schedule it based on where the inspector is going to be. So we try not to have
Sure.
them go an hour and a half drive between inspections when we're going to set up and pick up that radon monitor. So there's a lot of moving pieces just before they even get on site. The inspectors do not look up the properties before they get there. They really want to have fresh eyes. They want it to be the first time, and they start on the outside of the home. So they go all around the outside, then they go up to the roof, and then they start inside in the attic and then work their way down. The premise of that is that once they get inside, they've looked at the attic, they've run the fixtures. If there's a water leak or there's a situation, you can usually find the source above it.
Right.
Or the results. After they run all the fixtures upstairs, you can see if there's a leak downstairs. And then the crawl spaces last because it's disgusting and they don't really want to go back in the house after that.
Right. Okay, that's very methodical.
Mhm.
Is this something that you and John developed, or is this something the previous owner was doing?
I believe the previous owner was doing that and
Okay.
trained John to do that. He was very passionate about his inspectors doing everything the same way.
Okay.
So if they need to trace back their steps, they always have reference shots of each room aside from the inspection photos. We take a couple hundred extra pictures while we're there just to make sure that we've been thorough,
Okay.
to make sure that if there's any question or exactly where is this, we're able to back that up with
Sure.
the photos.
Okay, so who gets the inspection? I know realtors, and I know realtors probably call you to give you inspections. If they're the seller and the buyer needs an inspection, are you allowed to give the seller or the buyer, or vice versa?
So the person that gets the report is the person that pays for the report. So if the buyer hires me, the buyer gets the report. Now, if they give me special permission, because we do specifically ask for every inspection, can I share this report with your realtor? Then we will. But we don't, it's not a standard thing. So
Sure.
I get permission from the client to share the report with anyone. Sometimes there's special circumstances where, say, a stucco inspection, we'll share that with the stucco contractor. Mold inspection, same thing. We'll share that with the restoration company that's going to be handling that.
Okay.
And if they want to share it, they're welcome to download it. But
Sure.
we do not share the report with anyone that they have not given us consent to share with.
Okay, so touching on stucco, which is different. In Knoxville, we don't have much stucco, but we do have stucco. But in a place like Florida or maybe Louisiana or other southern, close to coastal places, they have a lot of stucco there.
A lot of coastal places do.
Okay.
And stucco is a great house covering if it's maintained. It needs to be inspected every 3 to 5 years, at least every 5 years. You normally can't see that there's something going wrong with the stucco until it starts to fall apart on the outside, and at that point you've gotten a lot of damage.
Okay.
There are other companies in Knoxville and other home inspection companies that do stucco inspection, but to my knowledge, we are the only inspection company that does the inspection with a penetrative method, which actually drills to the back behind it to make sure that there's not moisture, because a moisture reading from the outside just doesn't always tell the whole story.
Sure.
We are the only inspection company that does it correctly, that doesn't also make those repairs. So we're the only unbiased stucco inspection company in town.
So you don't do any repairs?
None.
If somebody asks you to do repairs, how does that usually work? For I take it you're liable, or somebody would think you're liable if you say, hey, call this guy for this or that. And how does someone do that when they get the inspection?
So we have spent most of the 20 years in business maintaining a referral list. And the whole reason I got into networking, truly the only reason, was to have that good referral list where I can make those calls, where I have people to contact, and I can really match make the repair person with the client. I know that their morals align, their likes and dislikes align, and they're going to feel good about it. But I always give a list as well.
Sure.
I say, I think you're going to really like John Coombs, but I have these other two companies that might be available as well. So
Right.
take a look at the list, Google them, read their 1-star reviews, read how they responded
Sure.
to them, and make the best decision for you. So I don't ever point anybody in one direction, but people are always happier with a referral when they've had a choice and when it's a good match.
Okay. So, little outside the box, if you're trying to refer someone and it's a new inspector, say they're watching, it's a new inspector, how do they network? What does it look like for you, and how did you come to the conclusion that you need to do this in order to find that referral?
The previous owner was in a networking group, so he started to build his network in that way. I chose a different networking organization and chose to build my network in that way. But we really were able to see how they approach a problem, how they fix that problem,
Sure.
and what their follow-up is like. And I do like to have a face-to-face conversation with everybody that we refer to make sure that I feel good about that referral and I know they're going to take care of our clients.
So that's full service is in your bio, so that's part of it. Full service, you got, obviously you do the inspections, then you do the more in-depth stucco inspection, and then you refer people that is going to help the client solve the problem. People, more than just one. You get more than one.
Right. Typically, we're the bad news guys.
Right.
So no one's excited about their inspection report. They're not excited about the stuff that's wrong, but they do sometimes get excited about the solutions that we can offer and the match that I can make. It's not just about, having the problem solved fast, but sometimes it's the correct problem solved.
Right.
And the person that's going to do it the right way, and the person that can do it in the timeline, or negotiating that so that you can have your guy make the repair, so the
Sure.
client can have their person that they trust come in. But trust is a huge factor for us to make sure this is a good fit.
Sure, absolutely. I've got friends that are realtors, and I've been friends with you, the home inspector. What do you tell someone that is there a way to tippy-toe around things that might make the deal fall through? There's a realtor watching this right now. Is it illegal? Is it not illegal to you're disclosing everything, but do they have to tell the buyer's agent if they're the seller? Do they have to tell them certain things, or can they just not?
So by law, on a national place, you do have to disclose defects in the home.
Not cosmetic.
True.
Okay.
You have to disclose known defects in the home, or situations around the home that could affect the health and the value of the home. Now, proving that is nearly impossible. Proving that they knew there was a leak, proving that they knew there was an enormous amount of microbial growth in the crawl space, proving that they knew that the roof was put on improperly. All of these things, you just can't trust the person living in the home that may have no knowledge of how a home functions. I'm not an inspector, but I've been married to one for a long time, and there's a lot of things about our house that I don't know.
Sure.
Me filling out a disclosure form would be pointless. So you have to do your own research. You have to hire your own people. And we do pride ourselves in being very, very thorough. So we are going to give you all of the information, but we're going to be kind about it and respectful about it.
Sure.
We're not the people that go in and poke holes. We don't make fun. We're not sarcastic. We've been warned recently by a realtor that there were video cameras in the home and audio recording devices.
Right.
So just make sure that you're nice. And it's not an issue. I didn't even have to tell our inspector because we know how they behave in the home.
Right.
We treat it with respect. That is literally where someone's family sleeps. It's not
Sure.
a joke. And having something happen to your home can be devastating to someone, even
Sure.
if they're financially stable. A $20,000, $30,000 problem isn't a laughing matter. So we won't take things out of our report. We won't leave things out, but we make sure we prioritize. So we've got that summary in the beginning, and then everything is A1. This is going to be a regular maintenance thing. You're going to have to do this forever.
Sure.
That second level is things that may need to be addressed in the near future, but they're not an emergency. Cosmetic doesn't apply at all, and unless it's a brand new home, in which case that needs to be repaired anyways because
Sure.
it's brand new. And then we have the urgent things. These are the safety issues. These are the major defects. These are the really expensive problems, and these are the things that could make or break a deal.
Wow.
Like I said, we do approach this in a way that we assume you're going to buy this house.
Sure.
We assume your family's going to live here. We want this to go through. I don't
Sure.
want you to lose your money that you put down on it. I don't want you to lose the contract and start over again.
Okay.
We just want you to go in with your eyes open.
All right, so changing gears a little bit, let's talk about operations. So if somebody's doing it or they're starting their business, how does it look if they don't buy it? If they just start from scratch, you've obviously picked up some of the either good or bad habits that he had and either changed them or kept them. How does someone go from nothing, having their license, or maybe even working for somebody, getting their license, and then growing? How has, I guess you're kind of a morphed because you bought, but you were
Right.
doing it before. How does that look for someone?
Build those relationships and don't have a scarcity mindset. So meet as many people as you can. In Tennessee, especially right now, knowing those realtors is going to be really, really important. We do get a ton of referrals from clients who have been happy and they've shared our information with their friends and family. But having those realtors add you to the list, don't be the only one. You don't need to be the only one. That's a lot of pressure for somebody starting out.
Sure.
But be on the list and then focus on every job that you're on and take your time. There's no need to rush. Sometimes our guys even spend a couple hours on the report after they've done the inspection because this is a huge deal for someone else.
Mhm.
Every transaction, every inspection that we do is a really, really big deal for someone else. Even if it's a $500 deal for me, this is a $300,000 transaction for another person.
Right. So, what does pricing look like? What should someone charge, or does which city you live in count? Is Nashville more expensive than Knoxville, or New York more expensive than New Albany, Mississippi, or something like that?
The home inspection business rate has not changed a lot in the last 20 years. We've raised prices a little bit, but it's still pretty inexpensive. We don't go by the cost of the home. We go by the square footage, and we go by the age of the house, and then mileage if there's mileage on that. But it's pretty consistent. For a 2,500 square foot house, you're looking at around $400. If
Okay.
it's 100 years old, you might want to add another $100 or $150 to that.
Okay.
Because a 100-year-old house is going to have a lot more issues
Sure.
and a lot more research that needs to go into those repairs that were made.
Are there other inspectors that don't do that, where they do charge based on the size? They do charge a lot more based on if it's older or newer, not just $100. Do they like go? Is there different? Because y'all are different. Obviously, you're growing. So, are there people out there that are doing things that people that are watching should be aware of?
I think every inspection company should charge based on age. I know some, particularly some of the larger national franchises, don't necessarily charge for age on theirs. But to give the inspector extra time and extra incentive to be thorough, I think is a positive thing. And if you're spending $500,000 or $1 million on a property, that extra $100 could go a long way for you to
Sure.
getting more information.
Absolutely.
It's not really a place to cut corners.
Okay. So we've talked about some do's and some don'ts. What would you look back a year ago, or even 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when he was working for them, that you wish you would have done, that you've either just started doing, or you wish you're there and you're not quite there yet now?
I really wish that I had started networking sooner. I wish I had started networking before we bought the business. Turns out I'm real good at it. and has really helped us grow.
Sure.
I really wish that I had done more social media. It's on my loathe list. When you make your love and your loathe list, and the things that you love, you lean into that, and then those things that you loathe, you send those to someone else.
Sure.
So I'm making sure that my next person that I hire for the office is going to definitely love doing the social media content.
That's the spreadsheets for you. You push that away, right, to somebody
Someone
else.
does the spreadsheets. Someone does the social media posts.
Okay.
And I can handle the talking. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. All right. So, what are things that you've done that you wish you hadn't have done?
That's a really hard question. I think we've done really well. We may look into partnering with some different companies moving forward and having some new support systems, but our transition was truly seamless.
Wow.
We stuck
That's
with
awesome.
the same CPA. We stuck with the same office staff. We stuck with the same paperwork structure. Now, about 6 months in, I went kind of paperless.
Sure.
And the sweet woman in the office has bared with me on that. So she only does one piece of paper per inspection and one file folder per month, because she was doing one for each, 2 sheets of paper. And so we've cut way down on the paperwork
Sure.
portion, because so much of the business is online and using software. So.
Right. So basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Right.
Just build
So-
on it.
All right. Is there anything that we haven't touched that you would like to talk about? If there's somebody that's either thinking about home inspection, or if they're a homeowner, something to look out for that we haven't discussed, the do's and don'ts of that particular conversation.
I would just say, read those lower reviews, read those responses, and really look into what people have to say about that company on Google and their reviews elsewhere.
Sure. What does 5 years look for y'all? The next 5 years, do you have it planned out? Or are you thinking about the next 3 to 5 years?
I would really like my husband to not be physically doing the inspections in 5 years. I'd like to have enough inspectors that we can still maintain our, still getting inspections done on time, because the contract times change. And I'd really like him to be more managing and not crawling under houses as frequently.
Sure.
And I would also like to support more families and get more really good inspectors to a financially stable and can be very profitable business.
Sure. Do you have steps in place now to do that?
We do. We
Okay.
do.
If you'll talk about that, I'm sure there's people that are watching that are home inspectors now that are thinking about not retiring, but stepping back and actually, managing, like you said.
So the first step to bringing on a new inspector is either A, having them get their license and come back to us for initial training, or B, read their reports and go on an inspection with them and see what their method is like and how they behave in the home and what the report after that inspection looks like. There's a lot of things that you can teach. There's a lot of things that you can't. So we want the attitude, we want the method there, and we want to know that they truly care about the industry itself. After that is complete, they go on 3 to 7 inspections with John and follow him around and just watch and take notes. After that, John will have them take over half of the report, and then John will start to follow them around as long as necessary. So
Sure.
Some people train for a couple of months, some people will train a little bit longer than that. And for consistency's sake, John will check the reports after they've completed them, just to make sure that he understands what they're trying to say, that they look the same as the rest of the inspectors in
Sure.
the company. One of our office people is working on getting her license. She's done her schooling that she's got to do, and she's already observing John on inspection. So we can look forward to getting her out on the field so we can get another apprentice in.
The next step, right? The next step. All right. If somebody wants to connect with you all, We're going to put your information inside the social or any video that we put out. How would someone connect with y'all?
So the best place is our office number. You can call or text 865-224-6378. And we also have just a main, the website, bcinspections.info.
Okay.
And that's a good place to see the sample reports and how we feel about inspections, because
Sure.
it's all put out there.
Awesome. Well, Natalie, we really appreciate your time today. If anybody have any questions, any of the social or any of the videos we put out, you can comment, and we'll get you in touch with Natalie. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.